Greetings! Today, you will learn about what was categorically forbidden to do in the bathhouse in Russia. Whether the spirit of the bathhouse could turn into a bloody demon if one important rule was violated. What wood was considered the most suitable for the manufacture of bath brooms. And it is true that women who gave birth in the bath had to stay there for several days, and why. Be sure to watch the video to the very end so that you don't miss anything important. We assure you it will be very interesting and informative. Tell me honestly, can you imagine at least for a moment about the secrets and traditions of baths in Russia? And it is not about modern establishments where people come to wash and have fun. In Russia, such a place was a sanctuary which personified the four main elements. As many of you already guess, it is fire, water, earth and air. Bannik, who was often accompanied by Obdariha, was also considered the patron saint and spirit of baths. We will definitely talk about these creatures, but later. Do you know that the Russian bath was first mentioned about 1500 years ago and the main source was the tale of bygone years? It was then that they started talking about people who doused themselves with cold water, whipped themselves with brooms, and then came out of the bathhouse red. Foreigners marveled at how a Russian person could endure a temperature of about 100 degrees Celsius. But our ancestors soon became so fond of baths that they began to adhere to many rules of behavior and also introduced several traditions. For example, how the construction of these structures should take place. As is known, the first bathhouses in Russia were built of wood. As a log cabin, chose a reliable and durable wood, birch, larch, and sometimes even oak. The interior was made of aspen. Strange as it may seem, but the very first bathhouses were built in a pit. This method was not only reliable, but also economical. Plus, the earth on all sides better retained heat. As you know, or at least heard, bathhouses were stoked black and white. In the first case, there was no chimney. The smoke completely filled the room inside and went out through the ajar entrance door. The main sign of heating in this way, constantly black walls from soot and soot. But in the second case, there was already a chimney which began to lead the smoke out through a pipe on the roof of the bathhouse. After all the wood in the stove was burned and the rest of the smoke went out into the environment, the flap in the pipe was closed. And now, let's deal with the dark side of Russian baths. Such a place in our people was considered a special place, and therefore the average citizen had to observe a number of rules of behavior. Also, baths relieved from many diseases. In this place often gave birth and also fortune-telling. But most of all, our ancestors were afraid of the bannik, which for disobedience and violation of the rules of behavior could seriously harm a person. Up to a sad outcome. Obdariha, which is an old woman without clothes or a creature in the form of a cat, accompanied bannik. Here, she was just avoided by our ancestors, especially with bad intentions. For disobedience and misbehavior, Obdariha could reincarnate into a familiar girl or woman and then lured his victim into the bath to steam. Finally, she could steam the unfortunate person to death. Prohibitions in the process of washing. We draw your attention to the fact that such rules were adhered to by almost all people in Russia. Otherwise, few people wanted to risk their life and health, especially since in the bath, a person was clearly not alone. So, the very first and basic rule, never wash alone. According to folk superstitions, it was believed that only a sorcerer or a witch could wash alone in a bathhouse. Before entering the bathhouse, it was necessary to be christened. The next important step was to knock on the door before entering the bathhouse. But such a knock was necessarily accompanied by words of permission. Our ancestors had to warn bannik about their intentions to enter the room and start washing. As for the time of day and days of the week, the people of Russia also adhered to a strict schedule. First, it was necessary to wash before evening, because at midnight washed already bannik, as well as Obdariha. It was also forbidden to go to the bathhouse at night. For such a violation, bannik and Obdariha could severely punish their offender. The most suitable period was from early morning, when the roosters crowed until 6 o'clock in the evening. Regarding the days of the week, it was forbidden to wash in the bathhouse on Mondays and Wednesdays. And in general, our ancestors several centuries ago began to go to the bathhouse on Saturdays. Such a tradition, by the way, has survived for many modern people. It was strictly forbidden to go to the bathhouse on holidays as well as religious days. Even did not go a few days before Trinity. Along with this, there was a ban on renouncing the faith. Such a violation was regarded as selling the soul to the devil. In the steam room, it was allowed to make only 3 visits out of 4. The last one was made by the Bannock himself. It was strictly forbidden to violate this rule because the bath spirit could get angry and take revenge on our ancestor. In addition to the above, the ban was on very hot steam. It goes without saying that it was necessary to behave in a bathhouse with dignity and culture. That is why it was forbidden to wash in the bathhouse in a state of alcoholic, as well as to bring alcoholic beverages. If a person neglected this rule, he could get a stroke or a heart attack. This meant that the Bannock got angry and took revenge on our ancestor for disobedience. If a man did not abuse alcohol or did not drink alcohol at all, he was forbidden to sit on the tub in the bath. If such a rule was violated according to beliefs, he could become an inveterate alcoholic. It was also forbidden to litter, swear, use foul language, and, attention, spit on hot stones. The bath attendant could easily answer, but the spit of the bath spirit already became boiling water. Thus he warned that one should behave calmly and respectfully towards oneself. Keeping order is another key point. It was forbidden to litter in the bathhouse, and after washing to leave behind a mess was also not welcomed. Therefore, our ancestors paid due attention to order and cleanliness in this room, and before leaving it was necessary to thank Bannock. By the way, about gratitude, it was expressed not only verbally. Before leaving, our ancestors necessarily left the bath spirit the following items: 2 washes, one with hot and one with cold water, a new broom, treats in the form of bread, salt, and kvass. It was believed that Bannock, after washing and eating, thanked the guest and, as a sign of gratitude, protected not only the bath but also the visitors. It was forbidden to leave the bathhouse facing forward. In this way, he showed disrespect towards Bannock. That's why it was obligatory to look back towards the bathhouse and its main spirit. You will be surprised, but Bannock could reincarnate as a bloody demon if a person decided to wash hastily. In this case, it was forbidden to hurry everyone who entered the bathhouse. This was regarded as disrespect to Bannock. What else is necessary to know about the Russian baths of our ancestors? In those days, the bathhouse was considered a place in which many felt unsafe and therefore tried to avoid such places. This is due to the fact that it was in the baths of our ancestors risked inhaling carbon monoxide, and bathhouses were often burned in fires. There was even a belief that if you build a new bathhouse or other structure on the site of a fire, they will suffer the same fate. Accidents were associated with the mischief of the bathhouse spirit. And to prevent these phenomena, bathhouses were decorated with all kinds of amulets, as well as protected by special symbols. Now you know why after leaving Bannocks were given treats. Bath broom was also given great importance. Not without reason, there is an expression familiar to many people. A broom is worth more than money in a bathhouse. This item was made by hand and woven from various species of trees, but the most valued was a broom made of oak. Such a tree was even considered to be pure masculine, and when steaming with an oak broom, they recited a spell to rid themselves of bad consequences and express gratitude to the bath spirit.